Welcome back everyone, this will be my new Spider-Man No Way Home video for the big Thor 4 Love and Thunder Easter egg that everybody's been talking about recently. So if you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. There's so many Easter eggs in this movie, you could watch it like 10 times and still find new stuff on the 10th rewatch. Careful for spoilers for the movie if you have not seen it yet, because we'll be talking about some very specific details from the film. But during the early part of the movie, when they're doing the J. Jonah Jameson Daily Bugle news broadcast scenes about Spider-Man, while he's busy yelling about Spider-Man, there's a news chyron that runs underneath his video feed with Easter eggs and references for things currently happening in other parts of Earth in the MCU. One of them is a news item referencing things that are happening in New Asgard during the events of Spider-Man No Way Home. I will explain the timeline of the movie and where that picks up too. But the Easter egg is meant to set up plot for Thor 4 Love and Thunder. Because after Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, that is the next MCU movie that's coming out.
Things just got out of hand.
The news chyron just reads that there's currently political strife in New Asgard, and there's this large Z symbol. So a lot of people believe that this is meant to be a reference to Russell Crowe's Zeus character and the current political situation with Thor leaving New Asgard to travel with the Guardians of the Galaxy after Avengers Endgame and naming Valkyrie the new king of Asgard. So quick timeline explainer, the news chyron happens early in the movie before the big Christmas time jump at the end, so it's around November 2024 when they're breaking this news. Meaning the events of Thor 4 will mostly take place within a couple months probably of the end of Spider-Man No Way Home. Not that long after the ending scene where he's swinging through Rockefeller Center in the new comic book accurate cloth Spider-Man suit with the new Spider-Man symbol. So it just sounds like while this is happening with Spider-Man, while J. Jonah Jameson is going crazy, Spider-Man is busy breaking the multiverse with Doctor Strange's spell, with Doctor Strange's help no less. While all that's going down, there's a bunch of problems in New Asgard with Valkyrie being the new king. And it's been about a year and a half since the end of Avengers Endgame, so technically she's been king for about a year and a half now. And it probably has something to do with Thor naming her king and people in New Asgard, other characters from the Nine Realms that have ties to New Asgard having a problem with Valkyrie being the new king.
Thor, your people need a king.
No, they already have one.
That's funny.
Even though there's a lot of questions as to her actual title, like Thor implied he was giving her the title of King of New Asgard, even though she's a woman, so technically she'd be Queen of Asgard and its sole ruler, not the King of Asgard. Like in the comics, when Odin is severely disabled or he stops being king for brief periods of time, his wife, Frigga or Freya, just depending on the comics that you're reading, takes over leadership, she becomes the sole ruler, but she's Queen of Asgard. When Odin stops being king briefly, she does not become King of Asgard. Like in real life, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip. Queen Elizabeth is the sole monarch, like she has the sole authority, but you don't call her King Elizabeth. I believe the Thor 4 movie will have a way of explaining why Valkyrie or Thor calls her King of Asgard. But early theory, you have a lot of other powerful Thor-related characters from the Nine Realms that they do in the Thor movies, from the Thor comics, that probably contest her leadership of New Asgard. Like they all probably feel like they have claims to the throne as well. Typically a god has ruled over Asgard, so there are probably a lot of other lesser gods who also want to claim the throne. Making more Black Panther references, there was also a battle for the throne. Like at the beginning of the movie, M'Baku challenged T'Challa for the throne. You have Killmonger, who came along later in the movie and challenged T'Challa for the throne successfully. So it just sounds like there's another situation like that happening in New Asgard during the events of Spider-Man No Way Home that'll sort of set the stage for what's happening during Thor 4. And you have all the extra social and cultural aspects of being a monarch, like do you have a family? Do you have heirs in case you die? Like who would take the throne after Valkyrie if something happened to her? And like I said, we do have Gore the God Butcher in Thor 4 coming to New Asgard as he goes around the universe on his quest to kill all the gods of the MCU. So the reason that Russell Crowe's Zeus character might be at New Asgard is just to assert a claim to the throne, or he might not like Valkyrie and might try to take the throne from her briefly, or just assert himself as a better candidate for ruler in Thor's absence, since there are a lot of parallels you could draw between Odin and Zeus. He is another one of the major Marvel Skyfathers. There are Greek gods in the MCU, they're all canonical, like that's where Hercules comes from, for those of you that want to see Hercules in an Avengers movie like Avengers 5. And most of you will remember that Ares was featured on the Grandmaster's Tower as one of the previous winners of the Contest of Champions, so a version of Ares already exists inside the MCU. Zeus is physically stronger than Odin, but the Odin Force makes Odin vastly more powerful than Zeus, so in a regular fight, Odin would always win. But Zeus would normally be way more powerful than someone like Valkyrie, who is just a normal member of the Valkyries.
You're a Valkyrie.
I thought the Valkyrie all died gruesome deaths.
They're just a hardcore elite Asgardian fighting force made up of the female warriors, like they're the Asgardians' version of the Dora Milaje. If you're wondering what happened to the Valkyries, they get into that during Thor Ragnarok. There's this big flashback scene where you see all of them killed by Hela when they try to imprison her, except for Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie. So Valkyrie doesn't have god-tier powers like Thor, Odin, or Hela, or even Zeus. And since Russell Crowe's only doing a small cameo scene as Zeus in the movie, early theory here, Gore the God Butcher probably kills him when he comes to New Asgard looking for Odin, Thor, Loki, any other gods that he can find. Mostly he would come looking for someone like Odin or Thor, though. Like they're the famous ones across the universe that everybody knows about, no matter where you live. And Valkyrie doesn't even call herself a god, nobody thinks of her as a god, so Gore wouldn't be coming to kill her. Loki died during Avengers Infinity War, or at least the main version of Loki. Tom Hiddleston also claimed he wasn't going to be in the movie as any version of Loki, but Marvel actors lie about a lot of stuff like that all the time. There's been a report that he's going to show up during Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, so our new version of Loki will show up in the movies. They do have Matt Damon's Loki in the movie, along with Luke Hemsworth's fake Thor, and they have a fake version of Hela, played by Melissa McCarthy, because they're going to do another one of those funny fake plays, but this time it'll be about the events of Thor Ragnarok, to sort of recap the events of the previous movie because it's been a couple years, and also set up the reveal for how Jane Foster gets Mjolnir. Even though that doesn't really have anything to do with Spider-Man No Way Home, I've already done a video about the version of Mjolnir that Jane Foster is going to wield. Based on footage from the movie, it just looks like the way they explain the twist in the film is that Odin's enchantment plus the magic that was already in Mjolnir itself will just be enough to reform the broken pieces of the original Mjolnir when something happens in New Asgard and it deems Jane Foster worthy. Probably something to do with Gore the God Butcher showing up and slaughtering a bunch of Asgardians. We've already seen a lot of footage of Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy coming to New Asgard during the film, but it's not clear at what point in the film that's going to happen. I'm assuming because of the way they did the fake play during Thor Ragnarok, Thor will also be around for the new version of the fake play with the fake version of Hela. And he'll also be around to watch Jane Foster become the female version of Thor when Mjolnir reforms itself. If it wasn't clear, New Asgard basically used to be the Tonsberg, Norway village that you see in all the Thor flashbacks in the first movie. You also see it during the first Captain America movie. That's where Odin hid the Tesseract. It just implied that Odin was really fond of this new Tonsberg village and just kept coming back here over the centuries. This little shrine that they built here with all these special structures is literally the site where Odin died. They've kind of enshrined it as a special sacred place. And this little pyre here that you see, this little monument, is also the place where Mjolnir's broken pieces lay after Hela broke it. Like they didn't pick up all the pieces of Mjolnir and then put it into storage. They just put them all on a special pedestal here and built something around it. But because the next big Marvel movie is actually going to be Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, I'm guessing that movie will also probably take place either right before Thor Love and Thunder, if it's not right around the same time. Because a lot of times the Marvel producers will say, oh, it's happening around the same time as these other movies that are coming out right next to it. With very few exceptions, the MCU movies happen in a linear way, so the timeline sort of moves along, so one movie happens just a little while after the events of the previous movie. So when Doctor Strange and all of his variants in Scarlet Witch, like Doctor Strange Supreme and Defender Strange, try to fix whatever's happening with the multiverse, all of reality from collapsing, right as they're dealing with that, the events of Thor Love and Thunder probably pick up. And they did confirm that the Guardians would be a significant part of the movie, but I believe they're only around for the early part. I'm not expecting them to be like a huge part through the entire events of the film. If you guys didn't realize too, next year, around this time, around the Christmas holiday, they're actually going to have a Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. It's going to be a bit of a parody on the Star Wars holiday special, but it will be live action, and it will set up the events of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So it'll take place after the events of whatever the Guardians are doing during Thor Love and Thunder. They'll probably release a trailer for that when Thor Love and Thunder comes out in theaters next summer. But if you have any questions about what's going on during Thor Love and Thunder or the Easter eggs in Spider-Man No Way Home, just write them below in the comments. There's another brand new Spider-Man No Way Home deleted scenes video that I'll be posting later this week, a bunch more deleted scenes and alternate endings that we learned about because the movie changed a lot while they were making it. And big reminder, the Star Wars Book of Boba Fett series is starting. My episode 1 video will post next. It's the Star Wars Mandalorian spin-off. It's like the Mandalorian Season 2.5 with a bunch of those characters like Grogu and Mando crossing over. So make sure you have alerts enabled for my channel so you don't miss that. Everyone click here to learn about the Spider-Man No Way Home alternate ending and all those deleted scenes, and click here for my full Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness trailer video. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.